Welcome to part 2 of how to reduce chlorine and chemical usage in your swimming pool. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.
The heat is up, the sun is out, the sky is burning, there is no cloud. The night was hot, I had no sleep, it was too hot to even think of it. We should get something out of it. It seems like weeks, no drop of rain. I take a shower and shower again. A double trouble in my head. To get naked and to get wet. We should get something out of it. Oh, life would be good in your blue swimming pool. Oh, life would be good in your blue swimming pool. You will be loving me, and I'll be loving you in your swimming pool.
Swimming in the pool, swimming in the pool. Everybody's having fun. Swimming in the pool.
Swimming in the pool.
Oh, you gonna sing?
No.
We're back on Turf Stuff Radio.
I don't want both our listeners leaving. So
I know. Tis true. We're on Turf Stuff Radio, and we're listening to In the Deep End with Frank and Jackie. And we're talking about going into this kind of a hiatus of winter and the chlorine shortage and the things you can do now to get ready to swim. Plan ahead, friends. Plan ahead.
take this downtime to upgrade. Again, these upgrades are not just to save money on chlorine, but they will save money on chlorine
In the long run.
But they're also, it's going to make everything easier. Even
Right.
if chlorine was the same price, these things are still worth doing.
Sure.
But, you got to weigh the good with the bad with everything. Most things have a bad side. So speaking of bad sides, now we're going to talk about saltwater chlorine generation. Okay.
What the heck is that? Say
All
that
right.
one more time.
You've heard of salt systems? People say, well, I don't have chlorine, I got salt. What a salt chlorine generator does, you turn your water to salt water, but it's about 1/10 of what the salt in the ocean is. And it goes through this cell, and there's electrical charge that passes through, and it takes the sodium chloride and breaks it into sodium and chlorine, and then you're basically creating your own chlorine. You're still a chlorine pool. You people out there that I hear it all the time, well, we don't use chlorine in our pool. We got a salt system. Yeah, you do. You're just making your own. You may not be buying much chlorine. You still got a shock and all that. So salt chlorine generators, yes, they cost a lot of money up front. Well, I say a lot, anywhere from, I don't know.
Depends on who you are.
Yeah, $1,000 to $2,000 typically, installed.
Oh, that's not much
Well-
for the
well,
average person.
No, but okay, so let's take what you would have spent on chlorine.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, say you're going to spend...
When you balance it out.
And when you balance it out, that's a few years worth of chlorine.
Sure.
Okay, and about the time you start to break even, your salt cell goes out, and you got to replace it for about $1,000. So now you got...
And your pool company is horrible because they didn't tell you had to do that. It's all your
A lot of people get sold on these chlorine systems. They never get told the downsides.
Yeah.
Something else you got to go through a lot of when you're doing salt chlorine generation is you have to use a lot of acid. So keep that in mind. And acid, other than chlorine, baby, guess what else is running shortages all the time right now? Say acid.
Lunchables.
Lunchables? Acid. Acid is in short supply and high demand.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that? And why is the acid?
It's plastics, it's truckers, it's you name it. I mean, it's COVID, it's SARS, it's West Nile.
It's 2021.
It's 2021,
and that's our life right now.
That's all you got to know. I'm not sure of all the reasons. I'm sure maybe someday we'll have somebody from HASA come on and talk with us. HASA makes a lot of.
They're awesome. Yeah.
They do a lot of acid. They do a lot of liquid chlorine. Great company. But maybe if this continues, I'm sure they're tired of talking about it, and y'all are probably tired of hearing about it. So we'll just move on. All right, saltwater.
Moving right along.
Saltwater pools, people think, for some people, it really does. It's like, it makes it a carefree pool where you don't have to do much to it. I don't understand why it's so different, but other people, it's nothing but a problem.
Right,
and
right.
they're calling, get this piece of crap off my pool. They want to go just regular chlorine because they're tired of the salt system. They're tired of the problems. They're tired of it breaking down all the time. It's not all, unicorns and rainbows and all that. It has its problems.
Well, like we've talked about, there's no perfect.
Right. And a lot of builders, a lot of masons and stuff like that, they won't warranty their work if you have a salt system on there. Because there's a large percentage of people in the industry that believe that salt breaks that stuff down and destroys it, as well as equipment.
Yeah.
You got shaft seals, stuff like that.
Look at, if we talked about chemicals, and I don't like that word.
Well, I got to say it, baby. I'm in the pool business.
Salt, it depreciates.
It breaks down everything.
Yeah, at its base, it breaks down things. So that's why people think, and I totally get that. But
and I think there's definitely some legitimacy.
Benefit? Yeah, absolutely.
Legitimacy to the benefits. There's legitimacy to the cons. But,
sure.
If I can find something that I get benefits and no cons, I'm going with the benefit
absolutely.
on it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that, borates.
Oh, my goodness.
You've heard of me?
Like the borate.
I
think you talk about borates like when in your sleep, when you're dreaming.
Baby, if I was to be reincarnated as a chemical, I'd
You'd
marry.
Be a borate?
No, I'd marry a borate.
You would?
I would marry a borate.
I'm not a borate.
I would change you. I would change you. I would chemically alter you to be a borate. So, but borates.
I'm not boring, though.
No, you're not boring, borate.
Okay.
So, borates are a chemical additive that you put into the pool. They use it in Visine. You've heard of lemon fresh and borax.
Oh, so
it has a lot of good benefits, but just don't go buy anything with borates in it. There's different borates. You want to get borates that are made for a swimming pool.
Okay. And what's the benefit?
The benefits. It has several benefits. One, it stabilizes your pH.
Which is so important. We've learned
which is very important. It resists the climb in pH.
Okay.
And it works great with salt, by the way. It works great with any.
So it's chlorine or salt. Borates.
Yes, you can use it. It's a standalone kind of thing, but it stabilizes your pH. It's an algae stat, which means it helps prevent algae. I've read a few different things that say different things on how it does that, so I'm not going to dive into that because I'm not sure which way to lean on that, but I do know it does prevent algae.
You're on the fence.
Yes, on why, but I know it does.
I don't know why. I know.
Do you remember 3 summers ago?
Oh, Lord.
Our pool, we pay one of our guys, our service guys, to take care of our pool every week, and it's whoever has the lightest route, we throw my pool on them. And they get paid to take care of my pool. And if they get busy, we take it off of them and give it to somebody else. 3 summers ago, it was the weekend before the 1st of August. And I decided I was going to take the day off. I was going to hang out in the pool. I was going to cook on my big green egg, which I love. And I was just going to, have a good time. Pool looked beautiful. It was crystal clear. There's no algae, no nothing. Well, I decided I'm going to get in the pool. I jump in the pool. The water stank. It stunk like sewage.
So it looked beautiful, but
it looked beautiful, but it
that.
stank.
Stank.
It stunk. It stunk.
It did not smell well.
It didn't smell well. It smelled like poo. So I grab us water sample. I run it up to our store. We live about a quarter mile from our store. I run up there, ran it through the tester, and I had no chlorine in my pool. And I'm like, oh, great. Which one of our guys is servicing my pool right now?
Because they ain't putting
no chlorine in it. And so we got going through the books and got to looking. And Debbie, which works in our office, tells me, she goes, well, Gerardo was taking care of your pool until the first week of June, but then he picked up a couple other pools. So we took it off of him. And, oh, my gosh, we didn't give it to anybody. I went 7 weeks.
Oh, my stars.
In the summer with no service. My pool running, and a borate pool, by the way. My pool was the first pool I ever turned to borates.
And our color is always beautiful.
Yes. And crystal clear. No algae, no chlorine for 7 weeks. I'm not recommending that. Do not do that to your pool.
Do not try this at home, folks.
But if that isn't a testimonial for borates, I don't know what is.
Wow.
So with borates, and it's a one-time pretty big additive. Yeah, you got to add a lot of product. You got to add 3 to 4 pounds for every 1,000 gallons. And so that's a lot of product. If you got a 15,000 gallon pool, you're looking, 55, 60 pounds of borates that you got to put in there.
Sure.
And then you just have to top it off once in a while. There's no equipment. There's nothing that takes any electricity. You just add a little extra borate once in a while from washout and stuff like that. It doesn't use itself up. The only way you lose it is from heavy rains and you get overflow or splash out from kids bopping around and stuff like that. So you just monitor that, and you can use less chlorine.
Mm-hmm. But note to self, it is some stank if there's not other stuff.
Yes, it does not replace chlorine.
It does not replace.
Yes, you're going to get some stank.
Smell is bad.
If you don't put chlorine in there with it, you're going to get a stanky pretty pool.
You don't have to put as much.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So it's like some
and
of
it's
them.
often.
Yeah. It's going to be like some of them movie stars you hear that don't bathe anymore because they think it's bad. They're really pretty, but they stink. So I ain't going to mention them.
Oh, please don't.
Okay.
Oh, my stars.
All right. Another thing you can add, enzyme. All the pools that we service, we have well over 300 pools that we service on a weekly basis. And we use enzymes. Enzymes, it goes around and it breaks down organics, it breaks down body oils. So
every pool or just ones that
No, you can use it in every pool because there's organics getting in every pool. There's I've even heard some people talk on the enzymes will eat the outer skin of algae or the protective layer because some algae get a biofilm that they protect themselves with.
Nice.
It will eat through that and allow chemicals to get in there and kill it. I'm not a chemist. I'm not sure if that's 100%.
Sure. So especially if you swim a lot, you have a lot of kids that have sunscreen on.
Yes.
You have a lot of dogs in your pool. Enzymes
are
is the way to go.
Yes, I love enzymes.
Yeah.
If you're one of these people that you get that kind of slimy scum ring around your pool, enzymes will help get rid of that.
Oh,
because it will eat that up.
So when you say enzymes, is it like a liquid? Is it like
it's a liquid? Liquid enzymes all I've ever used, and basically you dose it a little bit every week. It doesn't take a lot.
Okay.
It suds a little bit when you first put it in, and sometimes it may have a little bit of a smell, but it's not overwhelming. It's not a stinky smell or anything like that. But enzymes is a great product to use in your pools. And so if your enzymes is in there eating up all these organics, you can use less chlorine because now your chlorine isn't trying to destroy, oxidize those organics. Nice. So enzymes is the bomb. Go a little bit of enzymes, little less chlorine.
And there's
Go
no
borates,
enzymes shortage.
Little less. Not that I'm aware
Not right now,
of.
No enzyme shortage, no borate shortage. So those are
that I'm aware of.
That we're aware of.
Yes.
So
I mean, who knows?
Less up and stock up on that, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still getting it.
Yeah.
We
have it in our store.
Yeah. Every time I order it, I get it.
Sure.
So I don't believe there is a shortage on enzymes. I don't believe there's a shortage.
I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Because,
but I love borates. I love enzymes. Both are additives. I'm not always all about, additives, but these things work. Yeah. They work, and you can use less chlorine, and if you're using less chlorine, you're in a better position.
Okay.
All right. Babe, we got to bebop to a break real quick.
Bebop.
That's
bebop.
Summertime I sweat. I ain't afraid to get wet. I am so cool when I go swimming in the pool.
Let's go swimming, let's go swimming, let's go swimming. Yeah, let's go swimming.
And we're wrapping up here on Turfs Up Radio on this fabulous Saturday morning. I hope y'all are doing great, and I hope you're going to have a great weekend. We're talking about things that you can do for your pool over this winter to lead into the spring, to have a great spring when we have this
chlorine shortage.
I know.
I'm so sick of the word shortage.
Chlorine shortage. Yeah, chlorine shortage and a little bit of acid shortage and a little bit. And what you can do is an alternative so that your pool still stays healthy, so that it still looks great and is ready to rock and roll when you're ready to swim in the spring. So you have a couple more things that you want to talk about.
Phosphate removers.
What the heck is that?
There's a big debate in the industry about the importance of phosphate. Too much phosphate. Not nobody wants phosphates, but the water, like the people that deliver water to your house, the water plants. What do you call them? The water company.
The milkman.
The milkman. They put phosphates in the water to help protect their plumbing and stuff like that. And so there's phosphates in your tap
coffee
water.
Maker. I mean, that's the water that I use to.
Right. But phosphates, it comes in organic. Mow your yard, and your yard guy's one of those clowns that like sorry, I shouldn't call yard guys clowns. We're on turf's up.
We love our yard guy.
Yeah, I love a yard guy. But yard guys, sometimes they'll blow the grass clippings into the pool. Well, all that adds dirt. Dirt blows into the pool. That's got phosphates in it. So phosphates builds up. Phosphate is algae food. And anything really over 100 parts per billion, not million, billion, phosphates, it needs to be controlled. So if you can lessen your phosphates, and we use a phosphate remover. Actually, the product we use is a enzyme and phosphate remover. It does double duty. It does double duty. Sure. It's Phosphite Plus is what we use, but it's just a little dose every week with the enzyme phosphate remover, and it helps the phosphates filter out. And phosphates can affect the effectiveness of your salt cell, feeds algae. So phosphates is a bad thing to have in your swimming pool. You're never going to completely get rid of phosphates or keep them from getting in the pool. I mean, when you jump in, soaps have a lot of phosphates. So you wash your hair, you got some phosphates in your hair, you jump in, you're adding a little bit of phosphate. So just keeping those under control, you'll have less algae problems. So you can use less chlorine. Again, everything's about using less chlorine.
That's the goal.
And the last thing I want to touch on really is ozone, UV, and AOP. Okay, these are products.
AOP.
AOP. That sounds like that's advanced oxidation production.
I thought that was one of our senators in Washington.
AOP. No,
that's somebody else. Sorry.
No,
I was like, what?
No, this one don't have a horse face. The AOP. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. AOP. Well, let's go back to ozone. Okay, what ozone does? It creates ozone, and it only really works in the plumbing. Okay, and when it hits the pool, it dissipates very, very quickly, and it uses itself up very, very quickly in the plumbing. But any organics or anything that can be oxidized that's in the water to that point will be oxidized. So ozone does a really good job sanitizing some of the water. But the problem is, if you got algae on the wall, ozone ain't going to do nothing for it. It's not going to affect it in the least. But it is going to take some impurities out of the water. It's used in drinking water processes.
So is that a yes or no? Do you recommend or
no? I'm kind of on the fence because I've had a lot of people put them on, and they just really didn't seem to have no effect on their particular situation. And also, most of the ones out there, the bulbs have been burned out for 5 years, and the people don't even realize it. They do consume. They consume a lot of energy.
Okay.
The bulbs have to be replaced regularly, and those bulbs ain't cheap. It uses a certain bulb to create ozone. They do have some maintenance. They do go bad. They do have some parts. Anything that has parts, is never going to be my first choice. Parts is parts, and you got to replace parts. Yeah. Okay. UV. What UV does is it uses UV light, and it's installed on your plumbing, and as your water flows through at a proper rate through a UV system, that UV, it will kill bacteria, all kinds of living organisms. First, it kind of neuters them where they can't, multiply, but then it also kills them. Well, it's got little knives that comes out, and it spreads their little eggs and just. But all right, is it too graphic?
You're the worst.
Okay. But UV is a great system. It's a great secondary.
Sure.
On some of the big commercial pools that we take care of, they have these big slides and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you have to.
They have a big UV system because when the water, after it's gone through the filtration system and all that stuff, on its way out to a water feature, it really kills everything before it comes out that water feature.
Which is very beneficial.
Right. Yeah, but again, it does nothing for what's in the body of the pool. It has to, germ has to pass in front of that UV light or it's going to have zero effect.
Right.
And these are huge energy consumers.
Right.
And they also have bulbs that have to be replaced, and they're also very expensive.
Right.
So, again, great system for certain.
For the purpose.
Yes.
If it fits your circumstance.
Yes, if it fits your circumstance, it's a great way to go.
So everybody needs to just make sure that they know what their pool is, what their circumstance is.
And none of these are replacing chlorine.
Right. No,
They're
we're not
just
saying
reducing chlorine. Like, I'm taking my pool off chlorine. Now I'm going to put it on ozone and UV.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Don't do that.
Yeah, your pool's going to be full of algae, but you'll be able to drink that water coming out of that.
But maybe if you add some of these things and do some of these things, you
use
might only have to buy one 350 gallon, $300.
Yes, and that's what it's about. It's about reducing the consumption of chlorine. And with all this stuff, by the way, proper chlorine levels, proper stabilizer levels, or cyanuric acid, that word again, proper levels of that with proper amounts of chlorine. You don't have to nuke your pool.
Yeah.
Just 1 part per million of chlorine is enough to kill everything that's bad.
But like we preach, this is like the gospel of turfs up the deep end with Frank. This is like the gospel. Test your water.
Yes,
test your water and see what's working.
Yeah, and
what's not.
The last thing I guess second last thing, you got ozone and UV, and then you got AOP. AOP uses a combination of ozone and UV. It makes hydroxyl radicals, which, there's a new word for you. Hydroxyl radicals.
What is that?
They are very, very good at destroying contaminants. And then after they've destroyed a contaminant, they become basically hydrogen peroxide in very low levels in the pool, but they continue to kill stuff out into the pool. And like Clear Comfort's a brand that we put on several times. Now, when we first came out, they told me, that's all you need. No, you still got to have some chlorine, but just a little bit. And with a good AOP system and just a little bit of chlorine, you're going to be good. But the problem is they're pretty expensive. And you got
AOPs are pretty expensive.
So and UVs can be expensive. So again, there's a balance there.
And as long as you're testing your water.
All this takes me back to borates. It ain't got no parts. But anyway.
Borates.
We got to go. So
we gonna?
We have to. No, we gotta. All right.
Stepping off the plane.
We will see y'all next week.
Love you guys. Have a great week and a great weekend.
Yes. Listen for us during the week. And that concludes this episode of how to reduce chlorine and chemical usage in your swimming pool. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.